Hello, hello. It is Renee from Tub Time Treasures, and I have been asked quite frequently how I clean up my bars and how to stamp them to get a nice clean impression every time. So my bars are pretty solid. They have a decent amount of hard oils in them, and I typically wait maybe a day at the most between cutting and then cleaning up the edges and stamping. If I wait longer than a day, the bars are too hard to stamp and the impression is really light. It doesn't sink in enough. I can stamp them after a few hours of cutting. If I stamp them right away, the bars are still too soft and the impression, while clear and deep, tends to stick to the acrylic stamp. And then it pulls chunks of it out, which doesn't look good. So first I clean them up, and I don't plane my soaps. And I really only take a little tiny bit off of the edges, because when you use a fresh bar of soap, those edges can cause drag on your skin. And I want my customers' first use of my bar to be just as amazing as all the subsequent uses. So I just have a cornering tool. One side is 1/16 and the other is 1/8 of an inch. And so I just use the small side, place the corner in the tool, and I have a little bucket of shreds over here that I keep all my shreds in so that I can make confetti soap later, so nothing goes to waste. And I just run this real quick around the edges. You know you're not going to take much off, and really it doesn't look like you've taken a bunch, so people feel like they're still getting their whole bar. Sometimes when it's severely beveled, people don't feel that they're getting an entire bar of soap. So let me show you real quick the amount of beveling, quote unquote, waste from a bar. So here's from one side of the bar. Okay, so that is the total amount that I'm taking off of one bar. It's not much, just a little tiny bit. And then, like I said, I save them in with my other soap shreds so that I can make a confetti soap later and embed all of these back into my other batches. They all use the same recipe, so all the same oils are the same, just the coloration is different. So I'm going to go ahead and finish getting these cleaned up, and then I'll come back and show you how I stamp them. Okay, so now they're all cleaned up. I'm going to slide them over. And I'm going to show you how I stamp them. Before that, as you're cleaning, you might notice Some of them have little warts on them, especially if you cut with a wire cutter. I had somebody recently ask, hi Nicole, how my bars look so smooth. I don't plane them, I leave them as they are. Most of the time I can get a nice smooth cut just with my wire cutter because I burp my stick blender. Getting all the air bubbles out of your batter before you pour is going to help with that immensely. If your air blender, or excuse me, if your stick blender is sucking air down the shaft, it's time for a new stick blender. It means that your seal has gone bad and it's no longer keeping that airflow from going down the shaft and into your batter. So if you have little warts, little bumps on your soaps, you can take a paper towel. I like to fold mine over just because I'm crazy that way. Take a little bit of rubbing alcohol and either spritz on the paper or spritz directly on the bar. And you're just going to use your paper towel and rub the surface of the bar. That will get rid of any of those little bumpy, warty looking things on the face of your bar, and it'll leave it nice and smooth. If they're not smooth enough for your liking, you can go ahead and do that. These are all pretty good. So I will show you how I stamp and we'll go from there. Okay, so I'm gonna move these bars just back out of the way so that you can see what I'm doing. And I take a piece of freezer paper, and that way there's a nice clean surface for the soap to sit on when I'm stamping it. And I take a bar, place it down. Now I get my stamp, all of my stamps have been made by Dave at Lasercutz. I will leave the link below so that you guys can go and take a look. His customer service is impeccable. His stamps are super high quality. I've had my stamp for more than 5 years, and I've easily stamped hundreds of thousands of bars of soap, and it's still very solid. Never had an issue with it. It's still going strong. He will work with you. If your logo is intricate, he will help change it just enough to make it work with soap so that you're not pulling chunks of your soap out because it's too detailed. He will work with you. He's amazing. So high quality product, superior customer service, just amazing. He is in the UK. I'm in the United States. He typically has a 10-day turnaround time, 10 to 15 days, which honestly is not too bad coming from across the pond. And I'm on the west coast of the United States. So I'm just saying, if you are looking for a custom soap stamp, he's your guy. Again, I'll leave the link down below. So everybody's batch is going to be different as to when you're able to stamp your soap. So you're going to have to play around with your recipe and stamp at different times to determine what's going to be best for your recipe. So if you have a lot of hard oils, your soap gets hard fast, you're going to want to stamp sooner. If your soap is high in olive oils and unsaponifiables, where it takes longer, it's still sticky, tacky, you're going to want to wait longer before you stamp your soap. I cut mine and then I wait until it's no longer tacky to the touch. So that could be, for my recipe, a few hours, but typically I wait overnight from the cut, and then I go ahead and clean it up and stamp it. So what works best for me to leave a really good impression, My first bar I spritz with rubbing alcohol. I spritz the stamp itself. I place the stamp where I want it on the bar. I hold it in place, and it's gonna get loud because I'll whack it with a mallet. And then pull your stamp directly straight up, and you end up with a nice, clear, stamped impression. And I can typically stamp 2 or 3 bars before having to spray with rubbing alcohol again, because as you stamp, it'll get sticky and it'll want to pull. It won't want to release from the soap as easy. So spraying the stamp with rubbing alcohol every 3rd bar or so works for me. But like I said, you're going to have to practice with your recipe. You may have to spray every bar. I know some people put saran wrap over their bars before they stamp. I've never done that. To me, I would worry about the saran wrap sort of wrinkling as you're stamping and then not getting a super clear impression. But like I said, I've never tried it, so I can't tell you that it doesn't work. I know that it does work for other people. It's just not what I do. So I can pretty much stamp an entire batch in under a minute, but definitely not while I'm talking. It is a nice way to finish off your soaps, to give that professional look, the professional touch. Dove has their name in their bars, Dial has their name in their bars. It's just another reminder, once the packaging has been removed, once the product is in your customer's shower, where that product came from. And it will fade as your customer uses it, but still, it's a nice touch. My stamp fits behind my packaging. I have had people purchase my bars and try to remove the packaging and then resell them as their own. That's why I got my stamp to begin with. They can no longer do that unless they want to plane the soap to remove my stamp. And by then the soap is smaller. It's just an extra hassle for people who are trying to pawn off other people's soaps as their own. So it protects your intellectual property. I also take pictures of my soaps once they're stamped, not typically before, because then I don't have to worry about watermarking my picture. My business name is already in the photo prominently, and it's not taking away from the design of the soap. So I don't have to worry about watermarking. And so there's a lot of reasons why stamping is a good idea. And just putting a nice finish on it is a great reason. And there you have it. That's how I clean and stamp my soaps. If you have questions, feel free to ask them down below, and I will try to get with you and get you some answers. As always, thanks for watching.